love that song, Everything is Holy Now by Peter Mayer. And maybe you had that same experience. He talks about when I was in Sunday school, we learned about Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine, and what happened to the miracles? Why aren't they happening now? And now I've changed that also, because everything's a miracle. The fact that we're here is a miracle. The fact that there's anything at all, the fact that we can uh, do research, look into the skies, into the stars, and find, looking for the beginning of all life. All of that's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. And the holy water, you had a little bottle of holy water, or uh, maybe a bowl of holy water, or maybe you were baptized in holy water. But now we swim in a sea of holy water. And the little red-winged bird came to me this week, actually, the little red-winged bird, singing like a scripture verse. Everything is holy now. And especially this line, it used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. Now I'm walking with a reverent air because everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. So as we remember that we have received this original blessing as opposed to original sin, we have the original blessing of creation. And God declared all things are good, good, and very good. And even this idea of that divine spirit enfolding itself in a human body, saying yes to the human body. And that's something that some of us struggle with. Yes, that's holy too. See, there's always been a pattern on earth for this perfection, but sometimes we have trouble grasping it. All the time, this pattern was in place, everything perfect, and we didn't notice. See, all of reality, all of nature, everything is sacred, holy, and a window into that holy. Nothing is excluded. Body, mind, and spirit. See, it's funny the way we categorize life. Separating, judging, okay, that's good over there. This is not so good, and this I don't even want to discuss. So we categorize things based on what we think is important, based on what we've learned in the past, based on our experiences. So all month long, we've been talking about the mundane, the sacred, the profane, and today, oh my. So we examined each of the three, the ordinary mundane life. Rainbow talked about that the first week of this month. And then Jean talked about the sacred with its rules and practices and what is truly sacred. And last week we heard from Reverend Kit on the profane. And then today we come to this, oh my. And the oh my is that realization that they are all aspects of the one. Oh my is kind of an interesting expression, really, when you think about it. Oh my, what does that mean? Well, it was originally first recorded in the 1700s, and it's probably a shortened form of oh my God, oh my Lord, and now we would say OMG. So originally, these would have been sincere religious invocations. And as they spread as general interjections, then we kind of didn't want to use, it would be blasphemous if we used the Lord's name in vain. And so people changed God to words like gosh or goodness, oh my goodness, or dropped it all together in case of like, oh my. So the way that I associate this, oh my, is from the film The Wizard of Oz. See, Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, they're about to meet the Cowardly Lion. And Dorothy says, you suppose we'll meet any wild animals? And the Tin Man says, well, we might. Mostly lions and tigers and bears. And Dorothy, this was not her preferred answer of choice. So Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow skip down the road and they say lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So let's take a look.
Do you suppose we'll meet any wild animals?
We might.
Animals that eat straw?
Some, but mostly lions and tigers and bears.
Lions?
And tigers?
And bears.
Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Oh my. I know you want to say this, so let's just say this together. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. One more time. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. And with expression, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Oh, that is something that's become kind of cliche in our world. Three things. So we're saying today the mundane, the sacred, and the profane. Oh my. So here's a question for you. You're riding a galloping bear, chasing a rainbow tiger, and there's a flying lion behind you. Now, how will you escape this highly dangerous situation? Get off the carousel. Oh, and one quick thing. Why shouldn't you let a bear operate the remote? He'll keep pressing the pause button. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. So this rhythm, this cadence, this phrasing, we use to express awe, sometimes apprehension or fear regarding the presence of three particular things. Could be anything, X, Y, Z's, oh my. So when we look at this mundane, the sacred, and the profane, oh my, we come to looking at these ideas and seeing that there's no difference. There's no separation. Where does one bleed into the other? It's kind of like when we do a watercolor painting. You put you put color, and then you add water, and the colors mix and blend, and the edges become muted. And sometimes they create new colors altogether. So when we add the water of our consciousness, mixed with the aspects of life, we realize that everything is the divine expression of the individualized spirit. Everything. Reformation, remember, every aspect of life is a sacred expression of spirit, and that means all the lions, tigers, and bears. In the Declaration of Principles, Ernest Holmes says, "We believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one spirit." See, Dr. Holmes did not differentiate between the various parts of our lives or tell us the only sacred is this spiritual part. Rather, he specified that all of every person is sacred, and this means all of ourselves. The sacred, the mundane, and the profane, all of it is that divine. And there's a place for every color in the palette, just like there's a place for every aspect of life as God. So the study of science of mind, Ernest Holmes tells us, is the study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. Now, I'm sure you'll hear more about the thing itself the first week in January, because that's when we go through the first 4 chapters of the textbook, the thing itself. So first we have to become aware of our oneness. Become aware of our oneness. And despite knowing the ideas of oneness, sometimes I don't feel like that in my actual everyday life. You know, I want to categorize my life into parts and pieces with everything into the neat little boxes. Anybody else like that? But the brain, unfortunately for the brain, or maybe fortunately for us, that's not the way it works. There's only one thing going on. Wow. Oh, take a breath on that. There's only one thing going on, and that's God. Every part of our lives must be that. And this includes the parts we've buried, Oh, the things we're ashamed of. Oh my goodness. The past mistakes, the hurts, the traumas. And it includes those aspects of our personalities, minds, and bodies that we wish were different. In her book, Stubborn Grace, Kate Landis writes this. She says, every bit of you is holy, even the embarrassing parts, even thoughts you wouldn't tell your best friend. God is in your every cell, calling you to live a loving, joyful, boisterous life, calling you to go easier on yourself, to accept that you are a blessing, to spread the word there's no original sin, that we're all glorious gifts to a world that desperately needs us. That was Kate Landis from her book, Stubborn Grace. So knowing all that God is, knowing everything that God, everything is God. Everything is God. That means we need to accept every part of ourselves as sacred. Being, that's what we are. And we don't get to pick or choose or categorize one, not one, one, not one. Thomas Troward in The Hidden Power says, my individuality is one of the modes in which the infinite expresses itself. Therefore, I am myself that very power which I find to be the innermost within all things. Now, Thomas Troward sometimes is not easy to read, so I'm going to read that again. My individuality is one of the modes in which the infinite expresses itself. That means that my beingness is a vessel for spirit. And then he says, therefore, I am myself, that power which I find to be innermost. That divine spark is in me. So if that divine spark is in me, then I have to step away from my judgment. Well, I don't have to, but it would be really helpful if I did. See, often, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's way easier to judge others rather than see them as God beings. Oh, yeah, I admit it. So this judgment is a mirror. Now, that's the part we sometimes don't want to hear. This judgment is a mirror. So as I'm judging someone else, that's really a mirror shining a light on the part of me that I haven't yet accepted. Wow, it's much easier to repress old beliefs, hurts, thoughts, and other aspects and judge others than to look at those parts of ourselves that we don't accept. And when we don't live up to our own expectations, then we judge ourselves. And then we beat ourselves up some more for judging ourselves. In effect, what we judgment with more judgment. And yet that self-judgment is the opposite of what we really want, which is that unconditional self-acceptance. These things that we judge and that are mirrored back to us, they can't be released until we actually look at them, bring them into the light. And so once we own and accept those parts of ourselves that we thought were unlovable, and then the need to judge others falls away. I remember a story that I heard in a seminar once about somebody on the side of a pool relaxing and they were splashed. Somebody was splashing them, and they were relaxing. They were just eyes closed, sitting there, and suddenly they wake up and they're so angry at these people that are splashing them. Why could they do that? And then they look and say, "Oh, that person is drowning. I need to go help them." So immediately, the thought changes from that anger and judgment to loving and accepting and wanting to help. And that's how easily that judgment can fall away. So rather than judging ourselves for judging, let us see our judgment as a tool for healing and growth. And look at those parts that we're unwilling to look at and release them. And practice a little self-compassion. Oh, anytime you feel yourself coming from a place of judgment, just look behind that judgment What is it shining a light on? And then accept that part of yourself with love, compassion, kindness. Kate Landis in her book continues this way. She says, I want you to know that you are a strand in the web of all existence, one dewdrop spangled thread reflecting the early morning sun, connected to every other living creature, frogs, mushrooms, great blue whales, and you. You are never alone. You were born into a huge family of life. Sit in the grass and know that it is your sibling. Watch the crows circle and think of them as gossiping cousins. This is your world, and you are worthy. Oh, not only do I have to love and accept myself, I have to know that I'm worthy. Oh my goodness. Well, the good news here is that spirituality is constant. Ernest Holmes tells us spirituality is a constant, consistent attempt to feel the presence of God in everything and everyone. Everything is sacred. Everything is holy now. And so that means we get to see the divine in all things. And we get to be present with it. And I don't know about you, but in the world today, it can be challenging to stay present. Distraction comes in many forms: social media, games, that constant technology at our fingertips, and the ever growing to do list, especially this time of year. Oh, everybody will say, are you ready for Christmas? Are you ready for Christmas? Are you ready for the holidays? And it can be overwhelming. And so, what about a mindfulness app that interrupts you at random moments throughout the day? There are some that do this. Sometimes you'll get a chime at random times, and the chime is supposed to remind you to be present. And what about if at that time you checked in and said, how am I feeling? What am I doing right now? What am I thinking about? Am I thinking about something other than what I'm doing? And then we get to come present. Now, sometimes coming present brings to our awareness things that we don't want to recognize. Um, Perhaps the pain and suffering in the world, uh, wars that are on the news all the time, climate change. See, we're pulled in a million different directions. And sometimes it seems like nothing we can do make a difference. And it is in this moment that we are called to remember our oneness. There is a story from World War II that in a shelter in Cologne, where there were some young Catholics keeping some Jews in hiding because their lives were threatened, American soldiers found the following inscription: I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in God, even when he is silent. And I believe in love, even when it's not apparent. See, we may not be able to see the perfection that exists, but we can trust that it's there. And then when we do, we're able to show up in the world consciously choosing our part, our place, what is mine to do. And we can do that at any moment, bring ourselves back to that, what is mine to do in this moment. In the example, what was mine to do is to save the drowning person. Mark Nepo in 7,000 Ways to Listen says, perhaps the divine nature of things is disclosed through our humanity, moment by feeling moment. Perhaps the divine nature of things is disclosed to us through our humanity, moment by feeling moment. So seeing the perfection that exists at the level of spirit doesn't allow us to turn away, but calls us into deeper action. We are called to fully live the sacred, to fully live the mundane, and fully live the profane parts of our lives each and every day. And it's up to us to find out and to express all these aspects in divine balance. Can we see the beauty of the sacred in the profane? Can we see the shock of the profane in the mundane? And can we see the routine of the mundane in the sacred? And so when we open up to all of these colors of life and see the gift that each one of them brings, and watch as that water turns them into something brand new. So it is our aspiration to live in the holy now, where this present moment is sacred. Everything we do matters, and every second of our lives counts. The sacred is available to us anytime, in any place, and with anyone. We only need to slow down so we can recognize and see the sacred that always surrounds us. We only need to slow down so we can recognize and see the sacred that always surrounds us. This holy now, where everything we do matters and every second of our lives counts. So, this conception of holiness suggests a spiritual practice. And throughout the day, just remind yourself to pause. Maybe you have the app that pings you and says, okay, time to pause now. Pause, perceive where you are, what's around you, treat it with reverence as sacred. And let's do that right now. Let's just practice that right now. So let's pause. And just imagine at this time, maybe if you have a window that you can see out, just see the light coming through the window. And then listen. Just sense the air around you. And you hear how the room you're in affects the sounds that you hear. Maybe there's an echo. Maybe there's a fan. You feel the air moving. You feel the cold. Or maybe you're sitting in a ray of sunlight. And feel that sacred presence all around you. The life in the room where you are, that is the sacred presence. And so remain present here and now, right where you are. And also at the same time, feel a sense of all the paths that have led us to be together today. How all of our lives, each one, have converged here, now. Threads of consciousness brought together at this moment and this place. And let us feel how this moment is holy. So just take that thought into our closing treatment today, just knowing that there is a presence. There is a power, there's a presence, there's an infinite source. And by whatever name we call it, Some call it God. It could be the Buddha nature. It could be nature itself. Allah, Ba'ula. Could be any name we give it. It is greater than we can imagine. It cannot be contained by a name. It cannot be contained by a quality that we give it. It is greater than that. Greater than we can imagine. And personal to each one of us. It is that spark, that divine spark that is our life, that is our breath. And so knowing this oneness, knowing this, I speak my word for all within the sound of my voice today, knowing that we are one, that we are connected in that one mind, that universal mind moves in us, through us, as us, around us, for us, that we are vessels of that divine spirit. And so knowing that this human body is a vessel of that divine spirit, I declare that it is fashioned in the perfect pattern as a vessel for spirit. That there is perfect health, that each cell in every body knows exactly what to do and how to do it. Manifest that divine health, that wholeness, that holiness. And I speak my word for creative expression, that creative expression that as a vessel of spirit, we do in the world. That creative expression of laughter, that creative expression that we see in our art world, that creative expression as beauty, arranging flowers, that creative expression, however it is that each one of us creates as a vessel of spirit. And I know that it is rewarding, that being that creative spirit is rewarding, and that it comes back to us in perfect right ways. I speak my word for abundance, for the abundance of this planet, and for our stewardship of that. Knowing the planet is abundant, knowing that we are taking care of the planet in individualized ways, and knowing that this abundance we share, we give, that there is a circle of life that we participate in. I'm so grateful for this abundance. And I give thanks for love, for the perfect relationships, relationships in our families, relationships with our friends, relationships with our furry family, and with our family of choice, relationships with friends around the planet. And so giving thanks for this love that is expressed through each one of us. I know that it's perfect, whole, and complete. I know this world is perfect, whole, and complete, that the universe has been complete since the first thought. And so I rest in that knowing. I watch it unfold in perfect right timing, in divine right order. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. I relax in the knowing that all is well. And I relax in this holy, holy way. I invite you to join me as together we affirm, and so it is.